Today, I am on the Lakefront Trail in Chicago. It's about a 16-mile long trail. It hugs Lake Michigan and kind of covers the distance of Chicago. And we're here at the very end of a vacation, having a great time with the family. You can see my vacation beard. And I'm here catching the sunrise this morning, although it's a little bit cloudy. But today, I invite you to hear these words of the Lord from the Gospel of Matthew. This is the story of Jesus walking on water. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up to a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come out on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward him. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and, beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why do you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Before we came to Chicago, we ventured up to the city of Milwaukee. And somewhere in Chicago, they have a river that runs right through the city. And you can rent kayaks, and you can go down the river and sort of kayak through. And I noticed there was a couple who had rented a two-person kayak. And they had gone down the river, the Milwaukee River, and they had stopped and gotten takeout. She was eating like some crepes with a fork sitting in the kayak, and the husband was kind of paddling in the back, and they were having this really amazing time. And I thought, wow, you could not do that in the Cape Fear River. The Cape Fear is way too rough and wild, and you can't eat your takeout on the Cape Fear River. It seemed like a really enjoyable time, and I thought, wow, I'd love to go kayaking that way. And looking out over this beautiful lake here, I'm thinking about the story of Christ walking on water. That was not a joyride. That was not a relaxing time. He had to pray a long time before he did it. It wasn't something that he did just to kind of show off. It wasn't a lazy Saturday morning stroll. This was something that had a purpose behind it. This was something that he knew he probably always would do, and the moment had come. But what was the purpose of it? What was the purpose of Christ walking on water? Well, it depends on how you see it. I see what happens next. I see Peter feel like he's being called out of the boat, and he wants to walk on water with them, but of course he gets scared when he sees the wind and the waves, and he begins to sink. We often like to talk about this moment as like a baptismal moment. Peter was likely baptized himself already by maybe John the Baptist, but I think in this moment he's kind of having a baptism in a different way. He's failing down. His failure, his fear is allowing himself to sink down, and Christ is then pulling him back up out of the waters. Failure is like baptism, and that it washes away all the junk that gets in your life, that builds up in your life, and then you depend on God to kind of lead you up out of it. Failure is like baptism, and that when you come out of those waters, when God pulls you up out of the waters of failure, there's nothing left but the beautiful stuff that God created in you. A beautiful creation. I've been enthralled in the story in the last few months about Lake Powell in Utah. 3 years ago, my wife and I, we went paddling on Lake Powell. It's a beautiful, beautiful lake. But in the last year, Lake Powell has gone down by about 40 feet. This is because of the drought out west, and experts say it will probably go down by another 35 feet in another year. Lake Powell is disappearing, and it's disappearing quite quickly. This is the second largest man-made lake in all of the United States. And it's really known for beautiful waters and for boating, and it's just a really beautiful lake. But I was watching a local news story about it, and there was a news reporter who was interviewing locals who live near Lake Powell, and they were saying, most of them were saying, this is really a terrible thing. Like, and they were showing pictures of the boat ramp. This is a boat ramp that my wife and I use to launch our kayaks. You can't use it anymore because the water is so much lower now. It's really not a great boating lake right now, and it may never be again because of all these droughts. But there's a guy that they were interviewing. He was standing in the middle of this beautiful canyon, and there's like water dripping down like a waterfall, and the sunlight's reflecting, and the canyon walls are just like really interesting. It's just this beautiful place. And he said last year this was underneath water. This was a part of Lake Powell. And he said now it's not. He said when Lake Powell was created in the 60s, before then it was a giant canyon, and it was for avid hikers, it was for thrill seekers, for people who are looking to get out in the world and experience beauty. This place was like a canyon paradise. And he says when this lake goes down, if and when it does, we may discover that we should have never filled it up to begin with. This beautiful canyon. When you take away all that stuff, there's this beautiful creation. Baptism is a lot like that. When we baptize someone, we talk about a new creation, but really it's becoming that person God created you to be. It's becoming that beautiful thing that was already there to begin with, but some other junk in the world was getting in the way of you realizing that creation. There's a lot of junk out there. Maybe for you it's a slew of sinful habits. Sinful habits are anything that are getting in the way of pointing toward God. It's anything that doesn't refresh your soul or refresh the soul of others. It's anything that doesn't have a purpose or create beauty. Maybe there's just some habits I need to kind of wash away. I'm thinking of every time I get my hair cut by my barber. At the end of my haircut, he'll say, now you're beginning to look like yourself. It's kind of like a baptism, but you're getting rid of your hair and you're looking like yourself again. Or maybe it's a parent who is washing their child. They've been playing in the mud and they're dirty and they got mud and dirt all over them, but they get them in that tub and they wash them off, and they're like, this looks like my child again. So what are the things that need washing off? Maybe it's all the distractions that are in our world. My goodness, there's so many things distracting us, making sure that we're not very focused on what God is calling us to do. Maybe it's fear. Peter had a lot of fear. That's why he sunk. Maybe you live a fearful life, and it's time for you to be a fearless creation, the fearless creation that God made you to be. I don't remember who said it, but they said that our purpose in life is to be nothing more than fingers pointing at the moon. Fingers pointing at the moon being God and us being the fingers. I think of a little child at night pointing at the moon and saying, how beautiful is that? And that's what our lives are supposed to be. The truth is that many of us have so many dreams in this world, and we get so discouraged and so angry and so heartbroken when our dreams don't come true. But in truth, God is not loyal to our dreams. God is loyal to our purpose. I had a lot of dreams growing up. Many of them were unrealistic. But I found my purpose in being the finger that points at the moon. That is the ultimate purpose of our life. And when we're baptized, whether it's a baptism of water or a baptism of failure like Peter, those things those bad habits, that fear, all that junk that gets in the way of being that beautiful creation, they begin to sort of wash away, and what's left is this beautiful creation, these fingers pointing at the moon. What beautiful creation is there inside of you? What beautiful creation has God made, but it hasn't been shining out, it hasn't been coming out because there's just been so much junk in the world that's been stopping it. Maybe you need a baptism again, not a baptism of water, but maybe you need a baptism of remembrance. Maybe you need to remember that you are a baptized person. You need to know what it's like to walk this earth as a baptized human, to be washed continually by God's sanctifying grace that is trying desperately to wash all of this junk away from you and trying to allow that beautiful creation that God made you to be to shine from your life. Has that beautiful creation been tempered down? Has it been neglected? Has it been ignored? Has it been told that it's not important or valuable? what is that beautiful creation for you? And is it shining from your life?
A lamp for all my days, Lord. Bear a torch that I might see through the fog of bitter pain, and know your purpose lies beneath. Oh, to taste and see the gospel as I never have before. Be a lamp for all my days, and I shall walk